Hello, everyone. Welcome to the B2B SaaS podcast. I'm your host, Upendra Verma, and today we have Ruben Naverette with us. Ruben here runs a company called Empowerpoints. Hey, Ruben, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm pleased to be here.
Absolutely, Ruben. So let's get started and let's try to understand what your company does and why do customers pay you money.
Sure. Well, Empowerpoints is all about employee engagement. And one of the things that we do, really our core, competency is that we help employees create a system where they can recognize, reward, and, take surveys with their employees just to keep them engaged.
All right, makes sense. And who are you primarily selling this to?
That's a great question. Empowerpoints is so broad because it really applies to anybody who has employees. That said, we find ourselves mostly in insurance, logistics, and in the service industry.
Got it. Got it. And just help me sort of complete the conversation on the product, right? So I want you to pick any of your, most ideal customer and just sort of walk us through, how they sort of use your product and how they derive value from your product.
Sure. Yeah. Our most, ideal customer is somebody, a business or an organization or a leadership to, for that matter, who really values their employees and wants to help make their experience better. And so it's all about elevating, a good culture within the organization. And so our ideal customers really have an eye toward that. And not just in a lip service way, but in a way where they really genuinely want to improve just their environment, their culture. And so they will reach out to us and we will help them on many different levels with their culture.
All right. So let's talk about the pricing model and your business model here, right? Is it just the software that you're selling, right, which includes a bunch of features, or do you do anything apart from that?
We do other things apart from that, but everything is included in the price. So when you are in a PowerPoint customer, you'll pay a fee based on the feature set that you employ. So, you have your basic, recognition piece. And then if you want to add surveys and customer surveys and a wellness, feature, of course, that costs a little bit more. However, we do a lot of consulting with our customers and we do a lot of advisory type of activities. We spend a lot of time with them going over their analytics and taking a look at their culture. And none of that is extra. All of that is included in their monthly price.
Okay, okay, got it. So let's talk about let's try to understand a bit about your customers and customer base a bit, right? So how many customers do you have on your platform as of today? Approximate
Yeah.
numbers totally work, by the way.
Oh, wow. It'd be, we have some, we probably have about 12 really good core customers, and all of those are, high employee. So we have thousands and thousands of users. And that it really resides within, a small pool of customers that we really focus on. We include some of our customers include Starbucks and Chick-fil-A stores, on that service industry end. And then we have everything from select health to large logistic firms to employ then thousands of people, all over.
Yeah. So
We
let's
just
I got the sense. So let's quantify like how many users do you have on your platform? I mean, how many total employees approximately?
we probably have about, and last I looked, probably about 68,000.
68,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's around 5,000 approximately on an average
Right.
per customer, right?
Exactly.
That's
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty awesome, right? So, and in terms of revenue, I mean, you can choose not to disclose it if you're not comfortable with. I just want to get a sense of where you are as a company as of today.
Yeah, as a company, we are, growing. Of course, we do about just shy of 3 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, I don't know what that breaks down to be about a month, and then per user, we have our card price, and then we have different prices that we've negotiated with our various customers depending upon
Mm-hmm.
what types of, what type of, staff
Yeah,
that they need or what type of services they need.
yeah. And okay, so I just want to understand your growth as well, right? So 12 months before, right? So where were you in terms of your revenue approximately?
We were probably maybe, we didn't grow a whole lot this year. That's a really good question. We thought we were going to grow a lot out of COVID, but that didn't really materialize. And primarily just because the sales cycle in SaaS is so long, as you
Yeah.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we, coming out of COVID, we felt like there was going to be um, a real thirst and a hunger for employee engagement, and there is, but it just takes a long time for that to really hit your bottom line. And so I wouldn't say that we've grown maybe 10% this
Got it. All right. So there are a lot of things here to understand, right? So let's sort of deep dive into your go to market, strategy and your journey so far, right? I just want to start at the top of funnel, right? So you've got around 12 customers, so you absolutely know where they came from. What was that first touch point? So just walk us through, that first couple of customers, right? So how did they sort of ended up, becoming your customers? How did you know them, right? What was the process like? So during
year.
those first zero
Right.
to one journey.
Okay, that's a great question. Well, our first customer came as a result of the fact that we weren't even in PowerPoint. We had a small software development firm and we were developing software for the banking industry. And one of our large customers, which was at that time MetLife, came to us and said, "We have a problem with employee engagement in our loan division, our home loan division, and we were wondering if you could help us develop a small tool that we could pilot within one of our branches and help us, kind of understand why the employee environment was so toxic." And so we just started with that. And then when we built that tool, we retained ownership of it, of course.
Mhm.
And it was really successful. It really grew rapidly within that organization. And then we really focused on making that product work well in that organization. And then we slowly started branching out to similar organizations like that.
Mhm.
And, it's with any place, employees, they'll work a place somewhere and then they'll go to another place and then they'll recommend us. So most of our stuff has come word of mouth. In
Mhm.
fact, one of our large customers, they just had an acquisition that's just taking place right now. And we'll be bringing on 17 new companies, almost doubling our, you know, because of that word of mouth.
Yeah.
And so, you know, primarily that's where we found most of it. We've met people, at conferences, at workshops, and it's that personal relationship and connection that's helped us close deals. And so any advice that I could give to people who are in the SaaS field is you really have to get out there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's great to depend on maybe it's Google ads or some other approach that you're going to take to, bring people into the top end of your funnel. But we have found that the most effective way is to build relationships with the people, the customers that you see out there, the
Mhm.
type of customers that you feel are important to you. And that is, I mean, I have to say those relationships are the most important customers. Like I have a neighbor who lives just, across the way, and him and I talk all the time. He's the CEO of a large credit union in our state. And, they're coming on board as a customer, but it's about that relationship. So if you can go to different mixer, CEO events, events where your ideal customers are, attend those events and talk to people.
Right. So you mentioned something, right? That MetLife came to you to sort of solve their problem. Like, who exactly was that you, right? So were you a firm? Like, what
Great
were you doing
question.
back then?
Yeah, I had a little, it was just me at that time, and I had a little software development firm that I had, and this was a while back. This was back in like 2009. So it's
Okay.
been some time now. So
So
back
it's
in
been 13 years
2009,
approximately since you got that
right?
first deal. Okay, got it.
Sure. Yeah. But you know what? We had an exclusive deal with them for a number of years because they were our first customer and because we had developed the product for them. And I just had a small little software development firm, and I had, developers working for me that I was outsourcing to. And I was developing small little communications tools in the banking area.
Hmm.
Didn't even see this coming. So,
So you were
so then
essentially building software and selling it to these banks, right? So essentially, sort of
well, yeah,
outsourcing their development needs, something like that.
sort of, yeah, they were our customer. They were kind of our only customer, and we were only developing software for them.
Got it.
Okay. So we were just, they were just using us as their shop to develop.
Yeah, it
Just
only made
little,
sense naturally, right? So from that journey to to transitioning, so they naturally would come to you to sort of ask to build that product, right? So that made sense.
exactly. Cause all the tools that we were developing for them were all based around communication, but they were, tactile communication. And so then they just wanted to take it a little step further because they had a communication problem. That was employee engagement and how employees were engaging with one another. So we built a small peer-to-peer platform for them where peers could recognize each other. And that's where it started.
Got it. All right. So 2009, you got that first customer, right? So now you essentially built, you took that product. Now you got a nice product out there, right? So what happened after that? I know you mentioned networking and all of that stuff. When was that next customer that you ended
That's
up
a really
closing?
good question. Well, I think first, before we got the first customer, remember it was just me.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I needed help on this. And so I brought on, um, at that time, he was going to be our COO. And then we brought in a UX, UI guy, and then we brought on a sales guy, and I gave them equity, to participate. Through the years, we eventually transitioned to where I took a backseat as the chief innovation officer. And then who was firstly our COO, he became our CEO. So we swapped roles there a bit just because I'm more on the creative end and he's more a leader, which was a really good transition. Now, in terms of our next customer came actually as a result of, I was on a cruise
Mm-hmm.
and there was a wine tasting on the cruise, and we were going around the table. People were asking, "What do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I have a little employee engagement customer or an employee engagement, company." Now, granted, at this time we only had one customer, so at that point, then the guy sitting next to me said, "I have a logistics company and I need you." And we exchanged numbers, and then he became a really good customer, still a customer to this day. So that was our second customer. And then we went into Google Ads.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, how do we expand this? And so we started running Google Ads, and that's how we got Starbucks and Chick-fil-A.
You got Starbucks from Google Ads.
Yes, we did. And we don't have like the big Starbucks, like the
Uh-huh.
corporate Starbucks, is we started out with a couple of independently owned Starbucks in Miami.
Uh-huh.
And then once we had our foot in the door, and that company that owned that Starbucks also owned Chick-fil-A and Einstein Brothers Bagel. And they had a few stores in the Miami area. And then we just really took that seriously and then, took that forward.
Got it. So I want to talk about the conversion funnel as well, right? What happens after, the lead discovers you. But I just want to ask you one question, right? So like it's been almost 12, 13 years and you're saying you got around 12, obviously very big customers, right? So why is that number so low? Was that strategic or, like because you had all of these top of funnel potential channels, right? So why is that number looking so low for me? Obviously the revenue is still higher. Just want to understand the backstory there.
It's looking so low because this is a very difficult process,
Mm-hmm.
like probably about to a magnitude of 100, more difficult than we anticipated. We're kind of on our third salesperson, or head of sales right now. The sales cycles are so tough. The employee engagement is a want to have, not a need to have. And so it's really important that customers see their pain points. It's an extra expenditure kind of that they don't see as a necessity so much. It's somewhat of a competitive marketplace right now. So we're competing often going up against some really big players in the space who do things well. I mean, and we do everything well too, but, so that, I mean, there's just been a confluence of factors. We've tried a lot of things, in this year, we tried a cold outreach program. We invested a lot of money into a big cold outreach system. We had Salesforce high velocity sales plugged in, ready to go. And we hired a firm to come out and do a cold outreach with phone calls and emails. We bought Zoom info so that we could get their intelligent data. We did all that and didn't really make any traction with that.
So so why is it so? Like I just want to understand, right? So you send a bunch of cold emails to the relevant persons, right? Something's got to happen. I know. I mean, it might not be 10%, but you've got to have some percentage of them sort of expressing interest, right? So what didn't
We
work out
did,
there?
yeah. Well, what happened is, because of our ideal customer is like a higher number of employees.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, a mom and pop place that has 20 employees where they
Yeah.
can make quick decisions.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is you have large organizations and you're offering enterprise level software, and you have to jump through a million hoops in order to close those deals.
Yeah.
Those deals are significantly harder to close than smaller deals. I'll tell you what, the deals that we did for Starbucks and Chick-fil-A, because they were smaller organizations really on the ground in terms of we were doing store by store, were easier to close than some of these companies that you've never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Just because these companies they have a lot of, we operate on the security, on the enterprise level, you have a lot of security, hoops that we have to jump through, a lot of vetting that has to happen. And it's just brutal.
Yeah.
And, that's probably, there's
So
a
Ruben,
mix of factors.
one question: is it a product thing that you really don't want to sell to customers of smaller number of employees, or is it really a product thing that your product only makes sense for companies with a lot of employees?
We found that it only makes sense for large organizations who
Mhm,
really can execute a system and a program of this type.
mhm.
Simply, it does work in smaller organizations, but it needs synergy.
Yeah.
This kind of thing needs synergy and for there to be a lot of people on board. And so we've been, marginally successful, in smaller organizations, but we found that our churn is much higher in smaller organizations than it is in our larger organizations. Our larger organizations, those relationships last years. Um, and at some point, we're getting to decades now. Whereas some of those smaller ones, they don't make as much money. The churn is higher. They're more maintenance, more customization for fewer people and for fewer dollars. So it's really, our sweet spot really is kind of between, 300 employees and 2,500. That's really a sweet spot for us.
Yeah.
I mean, we're bringing on an organization of 4,000 here pretty soon, but which will be a challenge, but yeah.
Yeah. So talk about the sales cycle, right? So you mentioned it's really, really tough to sort of close those deals, right? So how does the sales cycle look like as of today? How much time does it take for that, lead to get converted to a customer, for example?
Yeah, good question. Well, usually the sales cycle starts out with some kind of a cold outreach or some kind of inquiry that comes in. And then what we'll do is we'll immediately go into what we call our initial discovery. And that's where we have a conversation with the customer, the potential customer, and find out what are their needs. Because our product is really broad and we can customize it down pretty narrowly. So it's really important that we understand what that is. So once we get an understanding of that, once we have that discovery meeting, then we usually schedule another meeting if it's a good fit with, more stakeholders within the organization. And it's at that point that we'll do an entire custom build, like a demo build with their colors, their theme, and then we'll take them through that. Now that usually takes around, sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 different demos that we'll have to do as different people within the organization take a look at the organization, at the thing. Then we'll get to the quoting phase. Then we negotiate that. Then we have to get a contract in place, and then it has to go through a legal process. And then once that's all been done and everyone's signed on the dotted line, then we can begin with our implementation.
And
So
approximately
that
how much time does this take on average from that initial
on
touch
average,
point to?
okay, that's on average, it's probably about 4 to 6 months.
Mhm. Got it.
It's not fast.
Yeah, obviously it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. So I want to understand your deal win rate. For example, tomorrow if I bring in let's say 100, 100 sort of leads to you,
Mhm.
right? How does the deal win rate look like? Like how many of them actually do you end up converting to a paid customer?
I would say our conversion rate, that's a really tough one. I'm just trying to think what it was this
So
year.
so yeah, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that, 2 out of 10, maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah, so my next question naturally is right, if I pour in more leads into that funnel, can you still maintain that 20% conversion rate?
I think we would actually probably improve on that just because as you go, you learn,
Mhm,
as you have more at bats, you do learn better.
mhm.
And so I think that we would, I think so. Yeah. I think we
Yeah.
would.
So if that is true, right? My next question obviously is basically you've got a bunch of companies. Obviously, I think you must have that big a network that you can just even handpick these customers, right? So tomorrow you could just pick these 50 odd customers, right? So is the path from 12 customers to let's say 20 or 50? Is it an easy one? Is it as simple as saying, okay, let's just pour them into the funnel and we'll end up converting them, or is it not?
Well, I wish we could do that. I wish we could just go out and grab people and put them in the funnel
And what's
faster.
stopping that? What's really the hurdle there?
What's stopping that is, finding that those people to put in the funnel. Once we get them in the funnel, then we're good. But finding, organizations that are number one, open to what you have to present,
Mhm,
have the budget for it, have the appetite for it, have also the philosophy behind the whole idea of employee engagement and paying money to help workers work harder when you're already paying them money and then giving them like gift cards and things like that and spending that extra money. That's a real hard sell in today's business, especially with the recession. And so finding those people who are like willing to take a meeting and who are like in that space, and also here's another real interesting point. We start often with HR department.
mhm.
That's kind of where a lot of this begins. And that's a real hard place to start because they're so busy, they're so overwhelmed, they're slammed, especially this time of year with open enrollment and things like that. You can't even get a meeting. So it's a real challenge. And so we've done all kinds of different, and this next year we're doing an affiliate program, and we're doing an ambassador program. So we're going to invest in, um, some new ways and some new things. We're always looking at new things to do. And one of the things we're also thinking about doing is some, what they call, user generated content, where some of our users, we're going to, offer them a really significant commission to, put content out there for us. So we've got a couple creative things up our sleeves that we're going to try, because we just we've not had much luck with the cold outreach, and we've had good luck with Google ads. And so we're going to put some new money into that next year. We put all of our money into cold outreach this year, and we're stepping away from that. And we might keep a little bit on that, because that, does pay off marginally, but we have to try other things.
So what does your gut say you, right? So which of these investments that you're going to make, right? Which of them are actually going to take you from, let's say, $3 million to $10 million?
I don't think it's Google ads. I'll
Mhm.
say that, but I think that what's going to take us there is going to be some sort of affiliate program where we pay a really high commission, and then we also, um, get some influencers out there who love our product and who promote it with some kind of user generated content. That's what I think is going to get us there, just because I've noticed that that's really a direction people are going. And a lot of people are looking for ways in which to earn money. And
Mhm.
so why not, put
Uh,
a,
uh, the whole point of affiliate marketing makes sense, but the question is, does it apply really to you? Because you are targeting, uh, companies with 300, 500 employees, right? So, who exactly are you trying to convince here that your product is going to make sense for you through your affiliates?
yeah, that's a great question. Well, are you familiar with Scentsy, the candle maker?
No.
They have an amazing affiliate program. And why that makes sense for us is because we are going to associate our Empowerpoint with the ability for an individual person to make it their own business. Sort of
Okay.
like being able to go, okay, I'm now in the business. Your mom could now be in the business of employee engagement. She could
Mhm.
build a business on our platform. She could earn an income. She could have a career. It's not just an affiliate program. And I said affiliate program, but really what I mean is our ambassador program, where you could build your own business within PowerPoint. You can be the representative.
You're
We'll
talking
be
about
the
white labeling
resources.
it, essentially changing the
A
name of it.
little bit. It's sort of like a little bit of a hybrid in terms of white labeling it. And yes, they do have that ability to do that. We're really going to focus more on them being part of the PowerPoints family and empowering them to build their own business in that direction. I mean, you know, I think there's a lot of people who are looking for unconventional ways to make money. And in PowerPoint is such that, we've bootstrapped it the whole way.
Mhm.
So we don't have any debt and we don't have any VC money. And so it's all
That
paid
that
for.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the product is built and it's been, running for the last 10 years. So it's battle worn. It's not going away. It's not fragile.
Mhm.
It's not going to break. So we've been through all of that. So now we just have a product that we can sell. And because there's high margins on it, we can, you know, leverage that with some kind of an ambassador program.
All right. So Ruben, one last question, right? So what's the future here, right? So I mean, you bootstrapped it amazingly. You reached up to that 3 million ARR mark, right? So what's going to happen in the next 5, 10 years, right? So what's the vision here?
I do think the vision is, we've had a really good time building the product, and we believe in PowerPoint, and we believe in the mission of the organization as a whole. But I do see an exit for us, probably the team. I mean, we've been doing this a long time, and I think the honeymoon is over. It's been over for a long time. But I think that our goal is to, we already had 3 organizations approach us this year for an acquisition,
Mhm.
because they're looking to, move into this space, and we're an established player.
Yeah.
And we've turned those down, but we're not going to be turning them down in 2 or 3 years.
Mhm.
Let's say that.
So what? So again, this is it's very interesting, right? Why did you turn them? Right? Is it the valuation?
Well, yeah, that's a great question, because we really felt like there was still gas enough in our tank
Mhm.
that we could ride this out and make the company more valuable with more customers over a period of time. Whereas we felt like if we sold now, sure, we would get a really good payout, but we didn't feel like it would be what it could be if we put a couple more years into it and really went hard.
So
So
were
we really,
Yeah. So were these, acquirers, is was that supposed to be a strategic acquisition? Like they're gonna take your product and then they're gonna do something else with it, or are they just
good.
looking at you as a simple, high margin business that they could just run and put it on autopilot?
No,
Something.
one of them was really looking to accentuate their existing tools, because they had They had a limit. They had, a, a basic system, and ours was mature.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were looking to add a lot of features. Like some of the things that we do is we're integrated with Ticketmaster, Best Buy, Travelocity and stuff like that. So we have all these other things that are integrated in our system that just came over years through maturity. And it was a newer company. So they were looking at a ways to expand and add features quickly. Another organization had huge success with an aspect of our system that made them money.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were not even in their space, and they wanted to leverage that. They wanted to own our organization because they felt like, well, they had another thing going on. They were getting some big national customers, and they knew that our tool really made them money significantly. And so they wanted to acquire that because they wanted to make sure that the tool was always going to be in place and they wouldn't lose that when they expanded into other customers. So there were weird reasons why,
Yeah.
you know.
So, makes sense. Makes sense. So in couple of years, right? Is it gonna be that what's the North Star here? So what are you aiming? Is it that growth rate, or is it increasing the number of customers and revenue? So what exactly are you looking at?
It's increasing that revenue because that's going to give us the biggest payout. And we really feel like with where we are now and how we've grown over the last couple of years and the different things that what we're looking for really is we're looking for something where we can scale in terms of, growth. And
Mhm.
we really haven't found that yet. I mean, Google ads have been okay. Facebook ads, total fail. Content on LinkedIn, not so much. I mean, we've tried. I mean, it's cold outreach, not so good. We're going to try a few other things because if we find something that we can really scale growth, if we find something that we know is just like an automatic
Yeah.
machine that we can put things in and get stuff out and we can guarantee and we can do those numbers, then we can scale in such a fashion that in 2 years time, we're worth 3 or 4 times what we are now. That's the goal.
Yeah.
And we feel like it's out there and we haven't found it yet.
Got it. All right, Ruben. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me. Hope you scale in PowerPoints
Thank
to
you.
much greater heights.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you.